I'm very grateful to my honourable friend for giving way, and I would just like to concur with the points that he's made about the benefits of our Labour health policy and how the government should do much more to fund healthcare in this country. Would he agree with me that there's a particular problem in many high-cost areas of retaining public sector workers, and that in areas like Reading and Oxford, indeed my honourable friend for Oxford is sitting in front of me, there's severe pressure on the NHS because of the relatively low pay for many skilled staff? Distinct. I'm proud, I have to say, to represent Reading, which is one of England's largest towns. Reading is a borough with a long history, the site of an important medieval abbey, the burial place of Henry I, and later an important industrial town. We are very lucky that our town sits on the main road and rail link between London and Bristol and South Wales. However, not all towns are as lucky, and many suffer from poor transport links. This is something which I will mention later, as Labour has a range of policies to support our towns. Many towns also suffer severe problems with congestion, and it's important to address this serious issue, which wastes valuable time and money for businesses and harms the quality of life for many residents. A number of towns suffer from serious air pollution as a result. Mr Austin, given these serious problems, the Right Honourable Member for Don Valley is absolutely correct when she calls for a new focus on transport in towns. However, I'm afraid to say that the current government seems quite simply incapable of identifying this as an issue, even though transport problems in towns affect a huge number of people across the United Kingdom. Although I should say this is hardly surprising, given ministers and particularly the Secretary of State's woeful track record. Mr Austin, the evidence of this inept handling of transport policy is quite clear for all to see. Ministers have failed to see the scale of the need for investment across our country as they've continued to put London and the South East first. Encouraging long-distance commuting through their new roads fund has diverted resources which could have been spent on improving transport in towns. Building new A roads to get from one city to another, or perhaps I should say to get from one traffic jam to another. Ministers have cut funding for buses and they've failed to promote bus use, which has now declined for several successive years. Indeed, bus funding has fallen by 45% since 2010. They've also failed to acknowledge that investment in buses is a simple, cost-effective and environmentally friendly way to cut congestion and to give more people access to high-quality public transport. This ill-thought-through approach has hit both pensioners, commuters and young people, all of whom rely on buses. And to make matters worse, Mr Austin, the government has also missed its target for cycling and walking. They've quite simply failed to invest in the modes of transport which reduce congestion, improve health, improve the quality of life in towns and protect the environment. So, Mr Austin, Labour's strategic approach would be a complete contrast to these years of failure under this current government. Labour would introduce a young person's bus pass and we would offer local control and improved services through allowing all councils to franchise bus services and set up new municipal companies. We'd bring rail back into public ownership, which would improve services and spend money much more effectively. You just have to look at the simple comparison between the profitable publicly owned East Coast Service, which paid a surplus back into the Treasury, and the recent bailout of Virgin on the same line. Labour would also invest in walking and cycling, and we'd support imaginative schemes to join up parks, towpaths, and encourage more cycling and walking in towns. The UK is also one of Europe's most unequal countries by region. Many of our towns and cities have suffered severe underinvestment in transport, and we would be committed to ensuring that each region of the country receives its fair share of transport spending. Mr Austin, I would like to turn very briefly, if I may, to the very excellent points raised by my right honourable friend. First of all, she's absolutely right to highlight the government's failure to tackle transport problems affecting towns. My right honourable friend's point about making transport respond to the needs of local people in towns is a very important one. The government should review the way that private bus providers consult on changes to routes so that obvious destinations like shops, markets, schools and healthcare centres are not excluded. And her third point is also a telling one. As I've said, for far too long, infrastructure investment has been biased towards London and the South East. It's high time ministers embraced a new deal for towns. Mr Austin, to conclude, this has been an important debate. Transport and the rejuvenation of our towns go hand in hand. I hope this debate encourages the government to realise that our towns' best days are not behind them, they're in the future, and that communities do matter. thank the Honourable Lady for giving way on that very point, and I would just like to show my support for her initiative on this matter, which is so important, and also to reinforce the point that she's making. The issue surely is not that our carbon emissions are dropping, but how quickly they're dropping, and the need to rapidly accelerate that. And this is obviously what she speaks about is a very worthwhile potential initiative to help accelerate the speed of reduction, and I wholeheartedly support it. I should also say that I have some experience in our local authority of the benefits, as she says, of local authorities and charities working together to help install solar panels.